What if I were to tell you that the once red-hot Porsche market has cooled off big time? Yep, the Porsche market crashed and prices for some models have fallen noticeably from their peak. Today, we're gonna dig into what happened, how various Porsche models from iconic air-cooleds all the way to 911s to the modern Taycan EVs were impacted. And most importantly, is now the right time to buy? Well, we'll explore auction data, price trends, and the forces behind wild rides. So buckle up, whether you're a car enthusiast, a collector, or an investor eyeing your next ride. Well, this is the info that you need to know. Let's get into it. As you guys all know, from 2020 to early 2022, the Porsche market caught fire. And that might be an understatement. Thanks to stimulus checks, low interest rates, and lockdown boredom, people were flush with cash. And Porsches became the go-to splurge. Air-cooled 911s from the 60s all the way to the 90s, long seen as collectibles, saw massive spikes. A 1970 911 that sold for $117,000 in early 2020 just resold months later for $95,000. That's a 20% drop. A flashing warning that the market was overheated. At the peak, over half of private sale Porsches sold above their insured value. Now, modern 911s and GT models like the 992 GT3 and GT3 RS weren't immune either. Some were flipping used for more than MSRP, like 100 to 150K over. Dealers were slapping on just those huge markups and people still lined up to buy. Even SUVs and sedans joined the chaos. Macans had wait lists. Can you believe that? And used ones sold near or over sticker. Even the typical depreciating Panamera held super strong, with prices that shocked longtime market watchers. And here's the thing, by late 2021, it felt like Porsche prices could only go one way. Like all bubbles, this one was ready to burst. In short, by late 2021 into early 2022, the Porsche market hit an all-time high. The pandemic era boom created a sense of, well, if you don't buy now, you'll never be able to afford one. But as we all know, what goes up, well, it's gotta come down. And come down, it did. The correction. By mid-2022, the Porsche party had ended. Prices cooled fast, and rising interest rates made financing way harder, killing off those cheap monthly payments. Buyers got cautious as inflation spiked and stock portfolios tanked. Suddenly, spending six figures on a fun car, well, it didn't seem so smart. Plus, overvaluation and buyer fatigue hit next. After years of skyrocketing prices, people stopped overpaying. By late 2022, auctions were filled with no sales and unrealistic reserve. In October of 23, only 68% of Porsches sold at auction. That means over 70% didn't sell, one of the lowest points of the year. Plus, you remember the whole chip shortage and all that? Well, yeah, that meant new car supply, once it was back, well, there was a ton of new cars. And so we weren't stuck chasing used cars anymore. With fresh Macans, Cayennes, and all the other types of models hitting lots again, the crazy premiums on used models, well, it just kind of disappeared. Then you throw the economic jitters into the whole thing, and that creates a slowdown. Stocks dipped, crypto, it crashed. All those crypto bros, they didn't have any money anymore. And talks of a recession scared off big spenders. By early 2023, the classic car market had reset to pre-COVID levels. Altogether, that burst the bubble and set the stage for the Porsche market correction that we're seeing now. Oh, and I don't even know if I want to get started on the air-cooled market, specifically the 964 and the 993. That was red hot during the pandemic boom. Prices, they literally soared like an eagle, with 993 Carreras jumping from 80K in 2019 to over 120K in 2022. Then you have the 993 Turbos hitting 250,000 plus. That was peak air-cooled fever, and that is not a $250,000 car. I'm sorry, roast me in the comments. 993 Turbo, I don't see it. But by 2023, the hype had cooled off. Values dropped 15, 20, 25% from their high. That 250K Turbo was now 180. A clean 964 that fetched 100 might now fetch 80. Now, that all being said, demand has not vanished, but the frenzy is definitely over. The market's gone from boiling to a simmer. Real buyers, more realistic prices, and, you know, actual buys at normal prices. If you've been waiting, now might be the time to start negotiating. These analog icons are finally feeling just a little bit more within reach. Plus, you guys know that I love myself a good EV, and if the air-cooled 911 market cooled off, the Taycan downright froze. Porsche's first EV hit the market in 2020 with huge hype and even bigger depreciation. EVs in general are losing value super fast, down about 40% year over year across the board, and the Taycan, well, it's leading that charge, no pun intended. I mean, guys, take this stat. A 2021 Taycan 4S, originally around $110,000, was selling for $54,000 in late 2023. Some high mileage base models have even dipped into the $30K range. That's super tech for used Camry money. I mean, you know where I'm buying next. So why the crash? Oversupply, expiring leases, fast evolving EV tech, and rising rates. Oh, and let's talk about the competition for a sec, because Tesla, remember, they slashed all those prices, making the Taycan look way overpriced by comparison. I mean, even the $185,000 Taycan Turbo S has seen used value slide to 100 to 120K. Bottom line here, guys, it might be the steepest drop of any Porsche ever in history. A nightmare for new buyers, but a golden opportunity if you want to use the ideal car strategies with the free workshop, which I've linked down in the first pinned comment, and you could snag one used for cheap. So bottom line on the Taycan, well, it exemplifies the EV slowdown. The combination of rapid tech depreciation and the broader market cooldown means an electric Porsche can lose value faster than a melting popsicle. If you've been eyeing a Taycan, now is probably your chance. There are deals aplenty. Just go in expecting that the car may continue to drop in value until the market finds an equilibrium. But real quick, on a positive note, if you do buy one now at a big discount, the worst of the depreciation may be behind you. You'll be driving a phenomenal machine for Prius money. But some good news, while most of the Porsche market dipped, the mid-engine Cayman and Boxster, well, they stood super strong, and in some cases actually gained value. Special trims like the 718 GT4 and Boxster Spider rose 4% and 1.7% in 2023, while standard models mostly held their ground. Why the strength, you ask? Well, enthusiasts love these for their pure driving feel. Personally think they actually drive better than a 911, but I'd prefer to have a 911 anyway. As 911s get pricier, like the brand new 2026 base Carrera starts at $130,000. That's the cheapest 911 that you can buy. Well, buyers have shifted to Caymans and Boxsters as a smart choice. Add in low production numbers and Porsche's plan to go fully electric in the future generations, and you've got a recipe for rising demand. Check this out, a 2016 GT4 that sold for $85K new is still going for that or even more on the used market today. A 2027 18 Spider often trading at or above MSRP. Even old base models and first-gen Boxsters are ticking up as enthusiasts rediscover them. So here's the deal. These are some of the only modern Porsches appreciating right now. If you've had one on your list, well, waiting might not pay off. But then we go from 2 to 4 doors. You know, the Macan, the Panamera, and the Cayenne. They saw surprising value spikes during the pandemic as well, but now, well, they're back on the ground. The Panamera, always known for quick depreciation, got a temporary boost when new supply dried up, but from 2022 to 2023, used prices fell around 16%, second only to the Taycan. A 2018 Panamera Turbo, which was once worth 100K, is now worth maybe 80K or less. The Macan, well, it held strong too, sometimes selling over MSRP during peak demand, but that's all changed as well. A 2 to 3-year-old Macan has lost around 25% of its value, which actually isn't bad in that segment. And a 75K Macan S from 2021 might now go for around 60K. Even GTS and turbo trims, well, they've softened as well. And with the electric Macan and the Cayenne, especially the Coupe A version, hasn't lost a ton of value. But bottom line, you guys, these aren't collector cars. They're solid buys if you need a usable Porsche at a more realistic price, or if you have a family or you need to tow your GT4 or 911, but the COVID premium, it's gone. Insanity, well, it's returned. All right, so the moment of truth, given everything that we've seen, the run-ups, the crash, and the current state, is now the time to buy your ideal Porsche? Well, it's not really that straightforward. For many models, yes, now is the best time in years to buy. The market has corrected from its peak craziness. You're not competing with a ton of irrational buyers or flippers flush with stimulus money. Prices for the most part are lower or at least more stable than they've ever been. And there's way more selection out there than there was in the past couple of years. In 2021, you might have had to overpay or settle for a less ideal car due to scarcity. Now you can shop around and find the right Porsche at a super fair price, especially if you're after models that have seen huge drops, like a Taycan, a Panamera, or even an air-cooled 911 that's come off its high. Any of those, you could score a relative bargain. The data, well, it all backs it up. Median auction prices on Bring a Trailer fell 9% from 2022 to 2023, and they're following even more. Meanwhile, the fever is broken, and sellers are way more accepting that yesterday's prices are gone and are more willing to cut a deal today. However, don't expect fire sale prices on every model. The market hasn't outright collapsed. It's more of a measured deflation. Certain Porsches like the Cayman, Boxster, or limited edition 911s have held value or even increased. If you're after one of those, well, waiting might not save you money, and they could actually get pricier if you delay. In other words, the market crash was not across the board. It was super selective. So, could prices fall even further? It's possible in some segments. If the economy takes a turn for the worse or interest rates stay high for long, we might see additional softening. For example, expensive collectibles, older 911s could dip a bit more if high net worth individuals get cold feet. And used EVs like the Taycan might continue to depreciate as technology progresses. But we're also seeing signs that the market is reaching an equilibrium. Just don't buy one of those Rivian-powered Amazon trucks. By early 2024, the overall classic car market was essentially back to 2019 normal levels. And my biggest piece of advice is buy for the right reasons. One thing that the roller coaster taught us, cars, even Porsches, can go up in value as well as down. If you're buying purely as an investment, you must buy smart, the right model, condition, mileage, rarity, etc. But if you're buying as an enthusiast, the best time to buy is when you can afford the car and will enjoy it. Porsche is first and foremost about the driving experience. As the community wisely put it, the Porsche is an experience first and an investment second. So, is now the time to buy? For many, yes. It's the most buyer-friendly market we've seen in a super long time. Do your homework on the specific model you want, check recent sales, and go in with a fair offer. Also, use that free workshop I've linked in the pinned first comment. You might just end up with your ideal car in your garage at a price that you would have thought unthinkable just 2 years ago. And to wrap up, here is a rundown on some of the best Porsche buys right now considering the recent market shifts. But before we do, we got to talk about the elephant in the room because there's something that could push prices up. Let me know what you think about them down in the comments below, because with new tariffs being proposed on European-made vehicles, there's a growing concern that imported cars, especially German brands like Porsche, could get significantly more expensive in the near future. That would impact new Porsches first, but used prices often follow suit. If the cost of new Taycan or 911s jump by thousands overnight due to tariffs, demand for used ones, well, they'll spike along with the prices. So if you're sitting on the fence waiting for the last few percent of depreciation, a new trade policy could slam that window shut real quick. That being said, regardless, here are my 5 ideal Porsches to buy right now, starting with the 1994 to 1998 Porsche 911 993 Carrera. And you're gonna pay between 90 and 120K most likely, and here's why. Last of the air-cooled 911s, I kind of think they're the best looking 911 of all time. I mean, they are bubble deflated. They're 20% cheaper than their peak, an iconic collectible that's now a bit more within reach for the savvy buyer. Then you have the first generation 2020-2021 Porsche Taycan 4Ss at 50 to 80K. How could you say no for stunning EV performance? Plus, they're one of the best Porsches or any car on the road look-wise. And here's the deal. Massive depreciation means you get cutting-edge tech and Porsche prestige for pennies on the dollar. Just be mindful of battery warranty and range and all that good stuff. Next up is one of my absolute favorites, the 2016 Porsche Cayman GT4 981. Now this thing is a track-ready mid-engine masterpiece that has increased in value, proving it's worth it. Buy now, because this modern classic is likely to hold value or appreciate as one of the last manual, naturally aspirated Porsche sports cars ever. Then, if you need 4 doors and you want ice, well, the 2018 to 2020 Porsche Panamera Turbo. It's Porsche's flagship luxury and performance vehicle, and now you can get it at a deep discount, often around 50% of new prices. The market correction and typical depreciation make this the ideal executive missile for those who want a lot of car for a little money. And if you need an SUV, the buy right now is the 2018 to 2021 Porsche Macan GTS. You can get them for around 50 grand, and it is the perfect all-around SUV that had crazy demand new, but can now be had at normal used prices. It's got the sporty handling, daily practicality, and with the bubble gone, it's a solid buy that won't break the bank. just in 2021. So whether you're eyeing a classic 911 or a modern electric Taycan, the Porsche market's wild ride seems to be settling down more or less. Now might just be the moment to make that ideal purchase. As always, buy the best example that you can, look for value, not for cheap, and most importantly, enjoy the drive. After all, Porsches are meant to be driven. Thanks for joining me, and happy hunting for your ideal Porsche. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and check out these ideal vids over here. I'm Brad, this is Ideal. We'll catch you next week, and promise you one thing, keep living the ideal lifestyle.